rapidly thus far. And we now move to the women's balance beam final. The start list for the beam competition here at the European Championships, and we see Romania come into this as the top two qualifiers. 5 of the last 10 European balance beam titles have been won by Romanians. And we have Silviana Sviringu as the second strongest qualifier, and Larisa Iordache as the top performer in qualification. Third strongest qualifier is the penultimate athlete, Anastasia Bachinska. So out onto the competition floor come the competitors for the women's balance beam competition. And one thing that is really worth bearing in mind is what we can learn from the team final when it comes to the balance beam, particularly the performance of the strongest performer in qualification. Come to that in just a moment. Super moment this is for Bilge Tarhan of Turkey, leading out the rest of the field, and quite a field as well, including one of those Romanians that have won 5 out of the last 10 European titles. Bilge Tarhan of Turkey, the 16-year-old, 8th strongest in qualification. Silviana Sviringu of Romania, another 16-year-old, joined by 8 years her senior, Larisa Iordache, the top qualifier. Elina Virova of Latvia, 18-year-old, 5th strongest in qualification. It's a great moment here for Elisa Hemele of Austria, the 11th strongest in qualification. Kristina Zwicker of Croatia, the 10th strongest. Anastasia Bachinska of Ukraine, the 3rd strongest qualifier. Anastasia Motak of Ukraine, the 8th strongest in qualification. So things have been somewhat complicated by the Noah's Ark rule, where only 2 athletes per nation can qualify for the final, meaning that we have from 1st ranging down to 11th in qualification competing in this final. But it's a balance beam final, so who knows? A moment to take stock of what is about to happen for Bilge Tarhan of Turkey, competed in the team competition. A very good young junior gymnast, won a couple of bronze medals at the Junior Mediterranean Championships, and she starts nicely with that front flip mount. Eighth strongest qualifier with 12.366. Layout was authoritative. Big moment coming up here. Yes, indeed. Now, come along, here we go, the dismount from Bilge Tarhan. Oh, very good way to start the final from this young Turkish athlete. There will be many a delighted Turkish fan at that display, and what steadiness from this young gymnast. Started nicely, tucked the knees in tightly to perform the front flip to mount the apparatus. This was a composed display, delivered this work on her terms. Sometimes athletes can let the routine run away with them. At other times, they can understandably take a little too long, be too hesitant. The gymnast, who is from Bolu province in the northwest of Turkey, it's midway between Ankara and Istanbul. It's a very important staging poster, a mark on the map between two huge cities. Well, the first mark has been registered by her. It's the mark that everyone else has to beat. 12.45, it's a jump up of 1/10 from qualification. That will do. Silviana Sviringu, another 16-year-old. Romanian athlete, 13.1 in qualification. Some nice workload to the apparatus. The reigning all-around national champion. And that was confidently done. A well executed walkover. A little bit of difficulty coming out of the illusion turn. It's a very nice beginning, this, to the balance beam final. Silviana Sviringu. Some very distinctive work on the apparatus. Gymnast who took the team silver medal yesterday with Romania. A return to the podium for one of the great gymnastics nations of the world. And the most successful nation still active, still competing at European Championship level. Soviet Union has won a couple more gold medals than Romania, but unsurprisingly they've tailed off a bit in recent years. So there is a possibility of Romania in time going to the top of the Women's European Championship medal table. Now, we're just hearing that there's an inquiry. There we go, confirmation. Bilge Tarhan. And I imagine the reason for that will be that she was given a 4.9 difficulty score and had a 5.1 in qualification. Yes, that's a very worthwhile inquiry to put in, actually. We did have quite a big change to one of the scores in qualification. The next gymnast, actually, Larissa Iordache, her difficulty was raised, I believe, by almost half a mark after an inquiry in qualification. So, don't ask, don't get. Worth remembering, senior international debut for Sviringu. Once again, the national all-around champion. Amazing, isn't it? At the age of 16 to have won 2 senior all-around titles, and not back-to-back either. That is a very strong score. 13.8. A 6 difficulty score. Has rocketed up from in qualification by over half a mark. Asks a lot of Larissa Iordache. 13.633 for Iordache in qualification. The best score in qualifying. But in the team final, a 14.133. Oh, lovely. Oh, it's just so assured. That whole approach of just really mark your landings on the beam. You tell the beam where your feet are, not the other way around. Super. And disguises the adjustment into a piece of choreography. European champion in 2013 on this very piece. Super work. There was a big step back as she landed, but it's a very strong performance again by Larissa Iordache. My, how good it is to see her back. It is wonderful to see her back. Now, we're just hearing there that... no, that is not the score for Larissa Iordache. A 0. Judges couldn't stand it. That is the number that we really care about for the moment. 12.65 for Bilge Tahan. She's had her difficulty upgraded. I did say she was a couple of tenths down from qualification. Well, that has been a very worthwhile upgrade. A very worthwhile inquiry if the difficulty score was upgraded. We look back here at the work of Larissa Iordache, who scored a 14.133 for this in the team final. Just remind you that I'm sure many of you know she's had 3 surgeries performed on her Achilles. The latest in Austria at the end of 2018. She did say it was 50-50 as to whether she would come back, but in her own words, I didn't choose gymnastics, it chose me. Beautifully put. Yes, there's always a place for Larissa Iordache. And with this performance, there's likely to be a place somewhere on the podium. It's 14. She goes into the gold medal position. It would be the absolute icing on the cake to depart these championships with a title. Well, we have had ourselves 3 quality performances, assured gymnastics. Here is Elina Virova of Latvia. Starts as Bilge Tahan did with the front flip mount, and then she Uses another right there. Her first international medal was the balance beam silver at the World Cup in Hungary in September. Actually October, I believe. First week of October. Now she was a touch deep landing the dismount in, in qualification. Not there. Much better. 12.733 the score for Virova in qualification. 12.65, that's Bilge Tahan, is the current bronze medal position. Well, I reflect back on the men's pommel horse final, this time a week ago, where 8 gymnasts went up and we didn't have a single mark lost for losing contact with the apparatus. And thus far we are 100% in this balance beam competition. Let's hope the curse of the commentator doesn't apply. Worked well to get some height there, and again in her wolf jump. And that dismount looking a little bit more secure than perhaps it did in qualification. So any increase on the 12.733, there is, just marginally, 12.75. So Virova is in the bronze medal position. Bilge Tahan drops down into 4th place. Welcome to Elisa Hemmele of Austria, 25-year-old. Breaking some ground here for Austria, competing in this apparatus final. Nearly. Austria won their first Artistic Gymnastics European Championship medal in the men's competition last weekend. Although she came off early on in the routine, one thing that's worth bearing in mind with Hemmele is that having qualified for the Olympic Games, she's come here with a completely brand new set of routines. Nicely executed courbet there. Especially on beam. This, more than any other piece, is very new for her. One of the reasons why I think we're seeing some of these losses of contact with the apparatus is because she's said in her own words, she's determined now not to play things safe. She's thinking about the Olympic Games. She's trying out more complex things than she's done before. This is a gymnast who missed Rio after rupturing her Achilles at the test event. She has some nice artistry to her work. Well, this is all part of the process for Elisa Hemmele. brand new routine on the balance beam, trying to increase the complexity of her work while still keep artistry front and centre. She said that she went to Stuttgart, the World Championships, in October of last year with unfinished business. Said that injuries had blighted her so much, she'd made the decision she will retire when she chooses to retire. It will not be dictated by physical circumstances. So for both of those unintentional dismounts from the beam, a couple of marks of deductions to be accumulated. First ever apparatus final though, and that means something. Elisa Hemmerle, 25-year-old from Lustenau in the west of Austria, based now in Amsterdam. Said that the decision to move and train there really did change everything for her. And her score is 9.9. The execution mark 5.6 because of those aforementioned difficulties on a couple of occasions. If you watched the World Challenge Cup in Szombathely in October, you will have seen Kristina Zwicker win the gold medal on the balance beam. It's a nice mount sequence beginning with that switch leap. 10th strongest in qualification here, 12.1. Very difficult, those straddle jumps, to keep your line completely precise. Really important to get the knees tightly in for the back tuck skill. And really does plant that landing admirably, Kristina Zwicker. She says that people are always surprised to hear that she's from Croatia. She said in her own words that if she wins, then people will remember where it is she's from. They'll start to associate Croatia and artistic gymnastics through her work. That's her dream. Took a big step to doing that when she won the balance beam title in Szombathely. And it's been a very fine championships, both men's and women's, for Croatia. They had their best ever men's competition, coming away with 3 silver medals. .12.1, Kristina Zwicker. Delivers exactly what she did in qualification, and that's enough for 5th place at the moment. So, just as one expects to a certain degree from a European balance beam final, it's Romania 1 and 2, it's Latvia 3. But here is the 3rd strongest performer in qualification, Anastasia Bachinska of Ukraine. 17-year-old from the west of Ukraine. Been a senior now for a few years. Uses the candle mount. Struggling to keep the form there. Just about. Difficult skill to try to get the back leg right up. Double tuck to dismount with authority from Anastasia Bachinska. Gymnast who was 5th in the all-around competition at last year's European Championships. Her year was marked more than anything else by the floor gold at the European Games. Important to see in the candle mount that handstand is established. Candle mount so named for exactly what it looks like. Judges will identify if the gymnast is tentative on the leaps. They don't manage to really establish a horizontal plane with the legs. This was where she really did manage to restore balance quickly and effectively. Could make a bit of a difference, actually. Could make all the difference staying on there. It's got the difficulty to be in contention. It is in contention. Anastasia Bachinska, 13.1. Goes into the bronze medal position. So still Yordaki, then Sviringu, then Bachinska. We go to the final competitor, Anastasia Motak of Ukraine, 6th strongest in qualification. Executed the back tuck well. Just has to watch for real moments of hesitation. Something the judges look for is when the gymnast takes a long time to establish their dismount. Well, she has performed the dismount very well. I'm sure you heard the timer beeper on a couple of occasions. 12.733, the qualification score for Mortak. So we look back at the work of the final competitor in this balance beam final. No doubt a stylish gymnast, a very distinctive gymnast in the way that she performs. And this will look back at the dismount. My apologies, that's the front pike skill. Try again, here we go. Yeah, really difficult to get that extra twist in there. All the way around. So, it is a bronze for Anastasia Mortak with a 13.1 score. Right at the end. So she's done it on the tie-break system with Anastasia Bachinska, who is in 4th position, and it means that once again, 7 years after she won the title in Moscow, Larisa Iordache is the European champion on the balance beam. She wins her 15th European Championship medal, her 6th gold medal, and Romania wins yet another continental title on the beam. And they do the double as well, with Silviana Sviringu taking the silver and Mortak coming in 3rd place ahead of her teammate Bachinska. She did have a 0.1 penalty for going over time, but her score 5.8 difficulty, 7.4 execution. Bachinska 5.7 difficulty, 7.4 execution. So a look back at how the medals were won. And the bronze medal for Anastasia Mortak. 2nd bronze medal of the day for her. Silviana Sviringu, another 16-year-old gymnast on the podium. And another silver medal for her at these championships. But it is the moment that so many people have been dreaming of. And there's something, isn't there, a touch poetic about seeing a returning Romanian gymnast take a title on the balance beam. Larisa Iordache with a 14 score by a clear couple of tenths, taking the European title. So she brings herself level with the number of gold medals of her fellow Romanian Simona Amana and Great Britain's Beth Tweddle. 6 gold medals for Iordache at the European Championships. moves up the leaderboard. Joins some of those great names from the past that I mentioned earlier, except it's still the present for her. Almost improbably. So we'll have the victory ceremony for the women's balance beam final in just a moment before we move on to the floor exercise. Anastasia Motag of Ukraine, bronze medalist. Second bronze medal of the day for her, to add to her team title. The balance beam silver medalist, Romania's Silviana Sfiringu. Second silver medal of these championships for the 16-year-old from the southeast of Romania. Larissa Iordache is a champion again. For the 6th time, she takes continental gold. The 24-year-old's remarkable resurgence continues. It is a gold medal on the balance beam for her once again. A title that she won in Moscow. And it restores Romania to top spot in a European balance beam final. And as a result, we shall now hear the national anthem of Romania. The national anthem of her country, Awaken the Romania. Well, she's woken up, there's no doubt about that. Larissa Iordache is back. There they are, the medalists for the women's balance beam competition at the 33rd European Women's Artistic Gymnastics Championships, and they depart, many of them, to get ready for the floor final. We're moving at a splendid pace here. So much so that I haven't had my usual opportunity to bore you all senseless with a history lecture about Mersin, which is a shame because it is a fascinating place. Populated since the 9th century BC. Used to be part of the Roman settlement of Cilicia. Called Zephyrion during the ancient Greek occupation, and then renamed Hadrianopolis by the Romans in honour of the Emperor Hadrian. And interestingly, it regained prominence during, of all times, the American Civil War, when there was a shortage of global cotton supply. So railways became huge.